Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey announced he is challenging the Minneapolis DFL endorsement. Frey lost the party's endorsement to State Senator Omar Fatah over the weekend. Woo! Danny Spiewak spoke with a delegate who is also challenging the endorsement. He's in the newsroom now with more on that and what it means for this fall's election. Danny.
Marina, Mayor Frey and his supporters argue that flaws in the Minneapolis DFL's electronic voting system led to Senator Fateh's endorsement. Frey has challenged the endorsement in an appeal to the state DFL party, which is technically neutral in this matter but has oversight of the city's DFL branch. At the Minneapolis DFL convention this Saturday at Target Center, delegates voted to endorse State Senator Omar Fateh for mayor in November. He is also endorsed by the Twin Cities Democratic Socialists of America. While the DFL endorsement doesn't decide the November election, it provides important support to campaigns. In challenging the endorsement process, the Frey campaign claims there were, quote, hundreds of votes that were missing or uncounted in mayoral balloting due to the breakdown of the electronic voting system. One of Frey's supporters, former state party chair and convention delegate Mike Erlinson, also filed his own separate challenge on similar grounds.
Hey, Jacob and Jacob supporters. I was at the DFL convention and I was one of the people who voted for Senator Fateh. So, how about we come with the real receipts of what really happened? Because I wrote them down. First off, the boomers in the convention, they was not having electronic voting. They did not mess with it off rip. We did a practice vote, and because they didn't immediately get a confirmation email right in that moment, they didn't feel like their vote was being counted, despite the fact that the chairs were saying, yes, we are seeing ballots coming in, your vote is being counted. And there was a motion on the floor to go ahead and just not do electronic ballots and go with paper ballots. That motion was promptly voted down by the body. So someone motioned and said, I move to paper ballots. And we, the people, voted on whether or not we wanted to do electronic or paper ballots. And we voted to do electronic ballots. The majority of the body that convened that day wanted to do electronic ballots. Then, after the results were announced, the results were 40% Fate, 30% Fry, 19% Davis, and I think like 4% and 0.3% for the other two. We knew that Fry and Fate were the front runners. There really wasn't a reason, despite the fact that the numbers were off or whatever, to go back and do another vote because either way, even if we did a paper ballot, it was going to be similar results. It was going to be Omar and Fry at the top, neither of them earning 60% of the vote, and us needing to go on to a second ballot. Now, like I said, the boomers did not like the fact that it was electronic voting. They felt like it was faulty. They felt like the numbers weren't right. So there was a motion on the floor twice. Two separate times, someone went up and moved to throw out the votes from the first vote and do paper ballots moving forward. The body voted against that twice. The majority of the people convening did not want to throw out the first results and move to a second ballot. Once both of those motions were voted down, Fry then instructed his delegates to go in motion to adjourn the convention with no endorsement. Two separate times that motion was made to adjourn the convention with no endorsement. And two separate times that motion was voted down by the majority of the convening body. Finally, once all of those efforts were voted down, Fry instructed his delegates to leave, to walk out, in order to try to deny the convention quorum so that they could ultimately force a no endorsement because we would not be able to move on with our business. The chairs decided that it appeared that there was quorum and they would move forward, but that ultimately the paper ballots used to vote for park board would be used to then determine if we had quorum based on the number of paper ballots. When we did our final vote, we had 699 delegates signed in and there were 478 ballots cast. So that is well beyond quorum because quorum, according to the DFL rules for that convention, is a simple majority. So 50% plus one. Half of 700 is what? 350? We had 478 people cast ballots. So yeah, Fry had his people walk out, but we still had quorum because he overestimated the amount of support he had in that room, thinking that it was 50% or more. we, as Fate delegates, we spent the day organizing. We spent the day in group chats. We spent the day having conversations with our neighbors and explaining to them the concerns that we have, relating to them, and meeting middle ground and explaining to them why we felt like Senator Fate was our best option for mayor moving forward. Not to mention, many people in the city are not happy with Frey, even if they weren't initially Fate supporters. We're not happy with Frey's performance. He's too moderate. We want more progressive politics here in Minneapolis. That's just the fact of the matter. At the end of the day, the convention was ran according to the rules that had been written. And every single step of the way, there were votes taken. And it was an entirely democratic process where the convening body, the majority of the convening body, made the decisions. There wasn't any one person making decisions. There wasn't a rigged vote. It wasn't any of that. They voted on every single decision and every path forward. And the vote that we cast was to fucking put Senator Fate as our DFL endorsed mayor. And that's all that there is to that. So, Jacob, you can try and try and try as you might to try to appeal this and try to pull bullshit. But clearly, the games you like to play don't work because you played games at the convention all day. You made that motherfucker last damn near 13 hours with all your motions and all the fucking stalling and everything that your delegates were doing throughout the whole convention. You overestimated how much support you had, thinking you would be able to deny us quorum by telling your followers to leave. It just didn't work out for you, buddy. We just don't like you. Minneapolis is just not that into you. With all of that being said, if you live in Minneapolis, make sure you get out to vote November 4th for Senator Omar Fate. Hey, he's going to freeze your rent. He's going to Trump proof the city. And he is one of the probably the most progressive candidate that we had up on that spread. So let's get it. Make sure you get out and vote if you live in Minneapolis.